Yatra order in the Supreme Court is being heard, and there's a big breaking news coming in. The Supreme Court, in fact, has issued notices to Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand and the Delhi government. That's the big news coming in. These notices that have been sent for the 4 states until the returnable date. Having regard to the above discussion, the Supreme Court saying that we deem it appropriate to pass an interim order prohibiting the enforcement of the above directive. So this is a big one coming in from the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court also issuing a notice to these 4 states who had passed that order of asking all the eateries and the restaurants to display the owner's name during the Kanwar Yatra, which actually begins today. So the Supreme Court stepping in and pulling up these 4 states, issuing notices to these 4 states and prohibiting the enforcement of the above directive. There has been a huge furor over this decision that first actually came in from the Muzaffarnagar police, and then it spread out to the other parts of the state of Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. The opposition and even some of the allies, including the JDU and the RLD, had taken offense to this order that was sent out by the states of Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and the other states as well, whom the notices have gone from the apex court. So a big setback there for these 4 states who have been now sent these notices. The Supreme Court putting an interim stay on the Uttar Pradesh government's directive to have all the eateries, all the restaurants across this entire pilgrimage, the entire route of the pilgrimage, to display their identities, to display the names of the owners of all of these eateries. In fact, this hearing in fact was happening on an appeal, and therefore most of those claimed that they had lost their livelihood and that their livelihood would be affected by this very strong appeal directive coming in from the authorities. Ananya joins us now for this huge decision taken by the Supreme Court. Ananya, over to you. Just tell us exactly what has the Supreme Court said and the interim order that it has passed.
Well, definitely, first of all, the Supreme Court has issued notice to various state governments, including that of Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Madhya Pradesh, which had, enforced this particular diktat that had come in from the UP government, and the same was followed in the state of Madhya Pradesh and Uttarakhand and various other states as well. And now the Supreme Court has issued notice on the various petitions challenging this particular diktat. However, this particular point of time, the Supreme Court has also put an interim stay on that particular directive that have been issued by these particular state governments, and this should not be enforced as far as, the name of the owner of a particular shop is concerned. However, it has been made clear that, the food being served to the Kanwarians should be made clear as to what kind of food is being served, whether it's a vegetarian food, whether it's filled with garlic or onion or not, whether onions have been used or not. So, all that should be mentioned. However, the name of, the shop owner might not be mentioned is something that the Supreme Court has stated. There was a long discussion that took place between the bench and, in fact, the senior lawyers appearing in, senior advocate C.U. Singh, Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, and, in fact, senior advocate Huzaifa Ahmadi appeared for the petitioners. Though since no notice has been issued, there was nobody from the state governments to actually put forth the stand of the state government. However, until, Friday, the next hearing would be on Friday as notice has been issued. The various governments would be represented by their council, and it would be interesting to see as to how the state government, especially, the state of Uttar Pradesh, which was the first one to do it, would be defending this particular diktat that they have, issued with regards to the display of name of owners and employees, on the shop. So very clearly and categorically at this particular point of time, this might be a little setback for these particular governments. But at this point, they would be making their stand clear on Friday when they will be filing a response to this, and would also be responding to all of the queries of the court with regards to why this particular decision has been taken and why such a diktat has been issued.
Oh, indeed. Siddhant also joins us. Siddhant, this is a big development coming in on this story, with so many voices saying that the directive that was given to all of those restaurants by the Uttar Pradesh government and the other states as well was discriminatory, was communal. In fact, the 3 BJP allies had also questioned the Uttar Pradesh government, demanding for a rollback. What are you now getting to hear from the authorities? What are you hearing from the state governments as well, who have now been issued notices by the Supreme Court?
Well, that's right. Look, there were a lot of politics around this particular directive, given by Uttar Pradesh government. In fact, the other states also decided to implement it, including states of Uttar Pradesh. In fact, now Ananya is reporting that that Supreme Court has sent notices to these states, Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh, and they have been asked to file a reply in the Supreme Court. And till then, there is an interim order which suspends the decision directive of the state government to put a nameplate of owners and employees outside dhaba and eateries. Perhaps the core of the petition which was filed against this order was that this particular directive by Uttar Pradesh government, by the governments, make the people from one community subject to economic boycott. And that was the core of the petition which was filed in the Supreme Court. Now, after hearing the petition, Supreme Court has given an interim order, and perhaps, all the three parties have been asked to submit their response as far as this particular ongoing case is concerned. But at the same time, this order has been suspended by Supreme Court in the interim order. But at the same time, Supreme Court has also given instructions to make sure that the food served to the Kanwariyas are as per the standards, and it should not anywhere hurt the religious sentiment. So that is again that is again an order which has come from the Supreme Court. We are still awaiting the full interim order, but so far the directive of the Uttar Pradesh government stands suspended. Supreme Court has given an interim order, and it would really be interesting to see that how the state governments are going to pursue this case both legally and politically now. As you rightly pointed out that there were a lot of opposition to this particular directive of Uttar Pradesh government, not just from the opposition parties but from the allies and partners, and also within BJP only. The leaders like Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi and others have spoken against the diktat by the Uttar Pradesh government.
Indeed, and the dissent against the Uttar Pradesh government's order to the eateries displaying the owner's name also spread to the ruling alliance. In fact, it was the JDU that had criticized the Uttar Pradesh government's move, demanding for a rollback. Let's listen in to what KC Tyagi of the JDU had to tell CNN News 18's Arunima.
News is just coming in that the Supreme Court has taken cognizance of the Kanwar Yatra and the name display controversy. What is it that the JDU has to say on the matter? So news just coming in says that the Supreme Court has put an interim stay on the directive to display the names names of owners and employees. Your first reaction?
We respect the decision of the Supreme Court. Our apprehension about the division of the society were correct, and this kind of news, this kind of provisions on these issues, it creates a Hindu-Muslim divide in the society. Again, I welcome the decision.
You were saying that you've been on a Kanwar Yatra on that part, so you have personal experience also. Please share it with us.
I am from that area. There it has never been these kinds of name plating and all that. Hindus and Muslims, they equally and unitedly perform this Kanwar Yatra, which is a very religious performance in this area. In Bihar, there is a place Devghar, which is equally important and pious. There is no such kind of principles as imposed by the UP government.
And one thing that the Supreme Court has also stated is that the kind of food that is being served, I think veg or non-veg, that should be clarified.
That should not be clarified. It must be banned during the yatra. No meat, no alcohol will be served in that particular part of the Kanwar Yatra.
So you think the state government of Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand and other states should do a rethink?
Yeah. They must rethink over the impositions of these kinds of restrictions.
Thank you so much. KC Tyagi there from the JDU giving us the first reaction after the Supreme Court order on the Kanwar Yatra name display issue.
All right, so the Supreme Court has stayed the directions that was issued by the Uttar Pradesh government and the Uttarakhand government that eateries along the Kanwar Yatra route should display the names of the owners outside such shops. We have Siddhant and Ananya, in fact, who have been tracking this news. Ananya, I'm going to come to you first. Tell us a little bit more as to what exactly did the bench of Justices Hirkesh Roy and S.V.N. Bhatti say while they were passing that interim order on these bunch of petitions challenging the government's directives?
Well, definitely, Avantika, this bench headed by Justice Rishikesh Roy and, in fact, Justice S.V.N. Bhatti had